Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the 31st film of the MCU, and the third entry in the Ant-Man and the Wasp series that started with Ant-Man in 2015, continued with Ant-Man and the Wasp in 2018, and now we've got, in 2023, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, this was a film that, I mean, from the start, let's start off with my thoughts on the original Ant-Man trilogy, because, honestly, Ant-Man is a kind of film series where I can't say it's the best of the MCU or even the best of cinema, but they're fun pick-me-ups. I mean, for example, after the kind of heaviness of Avengers Age of Ultron in 2015, Ant-Man, that was a well-needed boost of fun needed for the MCU to round off Phase 2, and after the pretty heavy ending of Avengers Infinity War, with Thanos wiping out half of all life in the universe, Ant-Man and the Wasp felt like the pick-me-up that we all needed after such a heavy topic. The third film in the series, I feel, has kind of a similar vibe. Not the exact same humour, there are definitely some bits missing, but at the same time, it does its own humour and it does it well. So, Scott Lang, played once again by Paul Rudd, he's pretty much living his best life. He's written a memoir, his life is going good, he's got a good romance going with Hope Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, played by Evangeline Lilly, and things seem to be going his way. Hope has started up her own kind of foundation called the Pym Van Dyne Foundation, working on the technologies of Pym Industries and the like. Hank Pym, played by Michael Douglas, is settling back in with his wife Janet Van Dyne, played once again by Michelle Pfeiffer, and things seem to be going well for Scott. Well, except for his daughter, Cassie Lang, now played by Catherine Newton, who seems to be following her father's footsteps in that she's ending up in jail. However, while Scott ended up in jail for robbing people's houses, Cassie more seems to be ending up in jail for, attacking policemen whilst defending protesters. She's protesting for what she believes in, but in trying to defend the protesters from the police, she ends up in jail herself. However, Cassie then reveals that she had been working on technology that can link down to the quantum realm, and she ends up getting a message back from the quantum realm, to which, while Janet is hesitant to go back down there, everyone ends up getting sucked down to the quantum realm, where they end up finding a group of people or creatures down the quantum realm, including Quaz, played by William Jackson Harper, Gentura, played by Katie O'Brien, Veb, played by David Dastmalchian, and Lord Krylar, played by Bill Murray. But aside from the people who are just living down the quantum realm, they also discover two enemies down there. Two new enemies in the form of Kang the Conqueror, played once again by Jonathan Majors, reprising his role from Loki, and Darren Cross, the former Yellow Jacket, whom Scott encountered in the first Ant-Man film, who is now become the form of MODOK, mechanized organism designed only for killing. And he's played once again by Corey Stoll. Although Scott Judd does point out to him in the film, you stand for mechanized organism designed only for killing. Wouldn't that be MODOK? to which, anyway, throughout all of this, of course, MODOK, or Darren, now wants revenge against Scott for having sent him down there. But the big deal is Kang the Conqueror, who, it turns out, Janet actually knows. When she was last down in the quantum realm many years ago, she ended up meeting Kang and agreed to help him fix pieces of his technology. However, when she saw that he was planning to use this technology to conquer many universes and across the multiverse, she had ended up destroying his piece of technology, trapping this version of Kang down in the quantum realm. And of course, he now wants revenge. So it's up to Scott, Hope, Janet, Hank, and Cassie in order to find a way to stop Kang and get out of the quantum realm back to their normal lives. Now, people had issues with this film when it came out, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't see those issues. I can definitely see what people meant. But at the same time, I think that this is a fun film. It's not quite, as I said, on the level of the other two films. I think they're a little bit funnier. But I only really had two major issues with this film. And both of them related to certain characters and how much they appeared in the film, or rather, how much they didn't appear. Now, the first of these is Lord Krylar, and he's played by Bill Murray. And I know Bill Murray is probably a very busy man, a very busy actor and the like, but to me, it felt like he appeared for 10 minutes, if that, and then suddenly, poof, he was gone. I mean, maybe they couldn't afford to get Bill Murray in for the entire film, but I thought he'd be there a little bit longer. But at the same time, it's Bill Murray. He's still funny. I love his kind of chemistry with Janet. Just how he talks to her and like, I just love that about him. Now, people had issues with MODOK, mainly because of how he looked, but for me, I'm just amazed we've got MODOK in this film at all, because given MODOK is a character who I think is so surreal, so bizarre, that I honestly never actually thought we'd properly get him on film, at least not in an MCU film at least, because MODOK's design, essentially being a giant head with miniature arms and feet coming out of him, I thought this design was just so bizarre that while you could take it like in a comic, or even in a cartoon, and people wouldn't think it was too silly, it's like, yeah, this feels about right. I feel that if they had tried to introduce this into the MCU, I thought that this would have been too ridiculous. But at the same time, they managed to get something in and make it seem like it belongs to be there. I mean, I know people had issues with the kind of characterization of how they rewrote Darren Cross to now be a version of MODOK, and Corey Stoll does go ham in some areas, but at the same time, I'm just impressed they managed to get a character who from the comics just seems so bizarre and actually make it work inside the MCU. So I know people had issues with MODOK, but at the same time, I'm just okay he's here. And he does seem to be like that. I do have question towards the end when he tries to act like a hero and says, "At least I died an Avenger," and Scott's like, yeah, sure. Which, yeah, I'd like, you did terrible things, dude, and I don't know if you've necessarily redeemed yourself enough with the good things you have done, but that's just me. But now, with Kang the Conqueror, when I heard that Kang the Conqueror was going to be the main villain of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I'll be honest, I kind of felt like, really? Because I thought with Kang, like, they're setting him up to be the kind of next big Thanos, the big kind of Thanos character, the next big threat in the MCU. I personally thought they should have done what they did with Thanos and kind of saved him up, but given the character had already appeared in Loki, and they established that there are multiple variants of him, I did, by the end, come to accept that, okay, this is just another variant of him. There are going to be many more across the multiverse and across the MCU at this point, the multiverse saga, so I think I can accept that. The other kind of big problem I had was, as I said, characters who didn't appear, and that's the three Wombats. Because David Dastmalchian does actually manage to make his way into the film, voicing one of the Quantum Realm citizens, Veb, or the Quantum Realm creatures, and that's fine, but there was no Lewis, no Michael Pena, no T.I. for David, so I personally felt a little bit cheated out of it, because I think for a lot of people with the Ant-Man trilogies, Michael Pena's Lewis is one of the best characters. Like, he's funny, but at the same time, he does know how to get the job done. He does know when to buckle down and focus, but at the same time, he's really funny, and I do love his kind of monologues that he did in the previous two films. But as I said, while David Dastmalchian managed to work his way into this film, Michael Pena and T.I. did not, which I thought was a bit of a shame. I did go looking up to see why Pena or T.I. didn't appear in this film. Like, was it a scheduling conflict and they just couldn't make it? Was there pay disputes? But eventually I found out that the direction the filmmakers wanted to go, they just couldn't find a way to insert the three Wombats in. To which, I can kind of understand that, but I think they could have managed to figure out a way to work them in, even if it was just for a scene. Like, maybe while they're down there in the quantum realm, Scott and Hank managed to rig up a piece of communication technology to the surface and manage to contact Lewis and say, listen, we need you to go to Pym's house and activate some technology so we can get back. Maybe also Michael Douglas could scream up, and don't touch anything else. To which I think they could have worked them into the story and we probably would have been fine with it, but with the direction that they wanted to go with the Pym's, the Van Dynes, and Scott's and Cassie, I can understand why ex-con security and everyone else was kind of left out. I do wish they appeared, but I can understand why they weren't. I also do have a slight problem with how cleanly everything kind of wraps up at the end, because towards the end of the film, they've managed to open a portal back to their own dimension. So kind of Hope goes through there, so does Hank, Janet, and Cassie, but then Scott ends up getting into a final fight with Kang, and towards the end, Hope jumps back through the portal as it closes in order to help Scott fight back against Kang. The portal closes, and then there's this really lovely moment of kind of Scott and Hope together, having just defeated Kang, him having gone, and they're stood in this kind of room of the quantum realm, just like, yeah, we failed, but our friends, they're back home, and we're going to be okay together. And then from the other side, Cassie just manages to activate some machinery and opens it back up. I just feel like you could have done more. Maybe Cassie panicked on the other side, maybe trying to find a way to open the portal, and then find some mathematics in order to do so. I feel like you could have gone a bit further with this moment rather than just portal closes, we're okay, portal opens again. And there is also a moment towards the end of the film with Scott walking down the sidewalk and then suddenly thinking, have I just doomed the multiverse? Have I just doomed the universe? Did we really defeat Kang? Which is interesting to think about. So I may be a little behind in my watching of all the MCU films, though there are some that I still get to see, such as Black Widow, Multiverse of Madness, and The Marvels and the like. But at the same time, this is a film, I don't know if it's as good as the other two, but it's fun. And for all their foibles, the Ant-Man and the Wasp films, they've always been very good at fun. So have a look for yourself, see what you think of this film. If you disagree with me, that's absolutely fine. But I personally thought Ant-Man and the Wasp, it was a fun time. Anyway, till next time, see ya.